Dune Awakening just got a ton of new patches and updates. I'll go over all those as well as a future update happening tonight. We'll go over some additional information for the full launch and global release. That'll lead us on to a brand new dev and CEO interview, where I'll do all the highlights from that, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, world? It's Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Dune Awakening. So first off, let's just jump into it. Let's get into all the updates, what we've been seeing there on the back end. So literally every single day since Dune Awakening has launched and its head start, it has received a patch. Now they've had to take the game down several times, every single time, and they've also done some smaller maintenances in between. Again, I'll cover all the details what's going on there. So first off, we had the June 6th through June 8th updates, and there's a plethora of changes here. I want to get everybody caught up on what's been happening the past few days. So for our first section here, we have stability, UI, UX, and localization, where they have continued client and server optimizations. So I've been seeing those server restarts mostly to help with that as well. The UI and UX got some changes here for private tab that now shows a third-party hosting pop-up in case you are wanting to start a private server. They've also added to where the server browser's visit button has now been renamed with the confirmation prompt. So remember, if you haven't seen, you can actually visit another siege. Now that has to be inside of your world. So for example here, I'm on the Norbog world, meaning that I cannot visit another world. However, I can visit all the sieges underneath my world. Now each world has 20 sieges. They're named the same no matter what the world is. That is across the board, even in the EU and other regions. But all the sieges underneath my world I can visit. Upon doing so, it no longer gives you the visit button, it gives you the confirmation prompt. So when you do click, you'll get a confirmation if you do want to visit that one. Where that has now been added also to the in-game UI, and it will display the target siege. It's temporarily also available in streamer mode. A lot of streamers have been trying to hide their servers and their sieges, which does make sense since there's only 60 players per siege or that can be on at once, so they don't want to deal with long queue times for that, but that's available in streamer mode, so just be aware. They've also done some additional UI stuff with localization, where they've added and refined localized strings and error messages and dialogue. That isn't all though, we did get some additional fixes here for June 6th through 8th. Messaging and notification servers now appear correctly on all servers. So if you haven't seen, when they have been restarting the servers, those used to have notifications in the beta. However, currently on the main servers, those weren't getting notifications. So unless you were checking the Discord server around 3 AM Central Time, they were taking down the servers to apply these patches. Now normally on the right side it would give you a notification, but it wasn't popping up and basically just shutting down. So I'm glad they fixed that issue there to let people know to get into a safe area. As if you do log off while you're in a vehicle, it normally kicks you out of the vehicle, and a lot of things can happen to that. It can be damaged by the storms, it can also be damaged by the worm. So yeah, there's a bunch of things there, so I'm glad they finally added that in. They did some massive changes here with NPC and AI, where now the NPC responsiveness has been restored across several scenarios. It seemed like in certain situations and in the later game, they weren't responding at all, you could walk right by them. I've actually still had this happen on occasions, but they are ironing that out. They've also mentioned that the Arakan hub NPCs no longer get stuck, although I've also had hub NPCs even attack me, which is super weird and odd since they can't damage you. Hopefully all of that will get sorted eventually though. Now there was some additional hotfixes here for the combat progression. They said that rubber banding edge cases in Melee have now been addressed for PvP specifically. I have been rubber banding a lot in the game currently, although they do seem that they're trying to figure that out. It was really good the first day, but then it started to get worse through these server patches. So I'm hoping they kind of do iron that out and fix it. Maybe it could be because of the server load, but hopefully with the patch tonight that I'll talk about, that they actually do iron and fix that out. They also mentioned here that a party can now reliably regroup after returning to Haga Basin. I believe that also applies to the Harko City as well as the Deep Desert. Seems like parties were getting disbanded when you went there, where now you can regroup when you head back. There was also a major issue here with defected Atreides. They can now complete Pantologist Advanced Training, so it seems like before they weren't even able to complete that. It is actually a really decent skill tree, so I'm glad they fixed that. We also have one here for questing and zones. The cutlery functions have been corrected in the Reek of Hephaestus. Base shield journeys now completed when you are opening up the generator menu. Sandworm breaches and unintended Haga Basin spots have been fixed. I have seen a lot of people get their bases completely destroyed, as the worm had some incorrect pathing issues. Hopefully all of those edge cases have been fixed, although there might be a few. Do be wary, try to build more inland. If you're building right on the edge, just know you might have your base destroyed. They've also now removed the pentashield doors from Imperial Testing Station number 2, which was that boss room. Essentially what was happening is people were getting permanently stuck in the Imperial Testing Station number 2 boss room, and I believe the boss spawns on a 45-minute timer like the chess, although I could be wrong on that. However, people were getting stuck at the very beginning of the game and they couldn't play. That was a massive issue on launch. I'm glad they have fixed that. For miscellaneous, they've had the rapid Q&E tab switch that no longer breaks placeable menus, and server suggestions, and now pick the closest regional server. Seems like it was just placing you in anything regardless of your ping. That does cover for June 6th through the 8th patch. Again, we are getting one tonight that I'll go over with the dev interview, so I might potentially have an update video there that you can look out for. Where we actually did have several things with that CEO interview. They were covering the future of server and maintenance plans, where first off, the infrastructure and scaling. They did mention they're spreading the server load more effectively to reduce wait times. If you didn't know, they actually did up the Haga Basin section or population. It used to be 40 players, but now it is 60 per siege. At least that can be on at one time. This was updated before launch, so nothing did change there, but it does seem like they are trying to open up more spaces in that way. They also do mention that they're opening up additional servers to accommodate a growing player base. That is going to happen with launch. Although I will say they should be wary on that, as there are plenty of low sieges right now. So I do hope they don't do too many and eventually they do merges, as New World and several other MMO lights especially do have this problem, where you're basically never really going to encounter another player if you're on a low pop server. Some people like it that way, but like myself, I actually like to have a populated server, so hopefully they do merges eventually, as opening way too many servers could definitely give a bad experience. Now they do mention about maintenance and updates, so if you haven't seen, every night around 3 and 4 a.m. depending on your time zone, they have been shutting down the servers to patch. Sometimes those have lasted 3-4 hours. What they said here is they're going to be shortening the patch development window. That's going to minimize downtime with more efficient hotfix process. So hopefully we won't have any 2 to 3-4 hour long patches. Although it's a good sign to actually go to bed. At least for me, that is my timer to say, hey, I probably should head to bed now. But I'm glad they're going to try to fix that and shorten that at least. That does cover for the official side of things and official updates there. Although, of course, with tomorrow, we are getting a brand new full launch, global launch. Which, yes, if you currently have been able to play through Head Start. But there is the full launch for those that have the standard edition. All those times are listed here. It's the exact same as the Head Start launch. Or for example, on June 10th at 9 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time, or 10 a.m. Eastern Time. All other time zones are here. You can do those conversions, of course, or at least the main ones overall. Which, speaking of that, I've seen this asked on nearly every video I do about Dune Awakening. I've also seen this comment posted on Twitter. Somebody asks here, and the console release time is... This game is currently not on the console platform. It's only a PC game. They do plan to bring it to consoles in 2026. That is at the end of 2026 though, and that definitely could change from now to then. Just so you guys know, in case you're looking at a lot of these videos, yes, the game is currently not on console and won't be for quite some time. Speaking of that though, Dune Awakening still hit over 100,000 players on Steam. This past weekend it hit 117,000 for its 24-hour peak, so it still has a staggering player base and a really nice player count overall. Although I will say, even with the global release launch, I doubt these numbers are going to pick up any more than that. I don't really think it's ever happened with a head start versus a full launch. I don't usually see a lot of the numbers jump like that. We might see a bit of a higher peak this weekend, but I wouldn't guess anything crazy, although I could be surprised. Typically, most people do just buy the head start launch, especially in the case of an MMO, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. 117,000 is still a really high player count though. We got two other last minute mentionables here. First off, if you didn't know, they are actually doing a weekly reset for the Deep Desert. They say this will strike each Tuesday morning during the server daily restart, and essentially anything in the Deep Desert will be wiped, which includes the bases and environments alike, which the Deep Desert will be revealed with new POIs and locations. I have also heard this, that for the first few months you'll never see repeats of the Deep Desert layout, so it's going to be constantly changing there. So if you wanted to get in any last minute collections and you already know the Deep Desert, you should head there now before tonight's reset. And I do believe that's going to be happening after tonight's patch, so again around 3 a.m. Central Time. We also have this last minute mentionable here. Somebody mentions they were today years old when they found this. They were running up and down the stairs to actually sort their chest. If you didn't know, you can access all your vehicle storage within the base. Just by going up to any chest, you can actually access the vehicle storage. So a nice little tip there in case you didn't know. Overall, that's about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuce!